Hi, I'm Abina, and I live in an orphanage in Ghana. And before you start feeling sorry for me and blah, 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 relax, man. Everyone is super chill here. The coffee is bomb, and I have a little brother who worships me. So I guess that's why I've never wanted to get adopted. Before I continue, please like and subscribe. Ever since I could remember, rich, stupid foreigners would come every month to take one of us home with them. But I knew they were just using us to brag about how they'd done such a noble deed by adopting a poor orphan. So whenever those snobs would drop by with their camera phones and designer clothes, I'd convince my brother Kofi to help me mess with them.
Come see our room. We just got new blankets.
Sweetie, I'm taking a selfie with
Our new blankets smell like lavender.
Ah! Is that
Pee? Silly me. I forgot. We have a bedwetting problem. A bedwetting problem.
The woman ended up bursting into tears from the awful smell. So traumatic. But one day, the warden had had enough of my behavior. You're 14 years old now, and Kofi's 8. It's important for your development to have parents. So the next time a visitor arrives, you better behave yourself. I was about to refuse, but I wanted Kofi to be happy and healthy, so I gave in. Except when a couple finally decided to take us home, I immediately disliked them. Apparently, they were both philanthropists who loved doing charity work. They were just too sweet, and I had a bad feeling about these people. Just like that, they whisked us from our beloved home to some mansion in America. Who wants to see their new room? Do you want to see your big boy bed, my cutie wooty widow mouse? Ew, gross. We hate mice, and don't talk to Kofi like he's a baby. Of course, dear. I'll try again. Yo, dudes. Who wants to see their billion-dollar golden baller sleeping place? You hear me, bro? There's gotta be a cliff I can jump off of. At least I had a giant bed with a mattress from heaven. But the next day, things took an awful turn. I discovered that Kofi and I were all over the news, and the paparazzi were right outside our window. Were my new parents famous? How come you didn't tell us you guys were celebrity philanthropists? I don't want to live in the public eye, and I've got an 8-year-old brother. I don't want his picture everywhere online.
Oh, come on. Being a celebrity is fun.
You never have to wait in line. You get free stuff. Give it a chance, Abena. It's Abina. I've told you 3 times. You know what? Just call me Abby, since I'm an American now. Mom looked hurt when I said that, and from that day on, things went downhill. Mom and I fought about everything imaginable. Like, she'd get mad because I hated being interviewed by reporters, or because I hated the itchy $1,000 clothes she bought me, or the fact that she kept feeding Kofi fancy food that he wasn't used to, even though I told her to just give us something more simple. By the time school started, I was exhausted from all the media attention, and I didn't want a bunch of kids coming up to me since I was the famous Ghanaian orphan that they were fascinated with. So I decided to ditch class and hang out in the school garden. Then suddenly, I heard a voice near me.
Hey, are you okay?
I looked over to see a boy my age with neon hair dressed in rags. Even the clothes I wore at the orphanage were nicer than his. No? I don't know. My parents are annoying. Your biceps are gorgeous. Never mind. The guy just laughed, and suddenly, I found myself pouring my heart to a total stranger about everything that had happened. I found out his name was Carter, and we went to the same school. He apparently skipped classes regularly so he'd have enough energy to work nighttime shifts, and it was all because his parents barely had enough money to buy food. I felt bad for Carter, but I was kind of relieved to finally meet someone here who wasn't rich. He ended up walking me home, but when we arrived, Mom greeted us at the door, and she immediately asked Carter to leave. Abby, I know that boy. He lives in a trailer outside our neighborhood. I want you to stay away from him. He's a criminal. You'll be in danger, and people will think my daughter's mixed up with a crook. Because your publicity image is all you care about, right? You don't actually care about my safety. Well, guess what? You're not my real mom, which means I don't have to listen to you. Mom grounded me after I said that, but I didn't let that stop me. Carter and I started hanging out all the time. Sometimes we'd ditch class together, and sometimes he'd sneak in through my window so we could watch MSA videos together on my TV.
I'm so glad you watched these on YouTube instead of TikTok. Promise me you'll never watch MSA on TikTok and fry your brain, please?
I didn't believe Mom about the criminal nonsense until one day I noticed Carter take off his baseball cap to reveal a clump of shiny jewelry. Please Please tell me he didn't steal all that.
Abby, you know I have a family to support. Yeah, I feel bad for stealing, but a job washing dishes can only pay so much.
Look, I get it, but you don't have to become a thief. No wonder Mom thinks you're a delinquent. Maybe I'll ask her to give you some money. She and my dad love bragging about how they give to charity. Then suddenly, Carter got this really serious look on his face, and then he told me something disturbing. My parents were known for being frauds. Kofi and I hadn't been the first kids they'd taken home. Apparently, they'd foster them for a year or two, use them to get publicity, and then they'd send them somewhere else. That makes no sense. They took me home and signed the papers.
Are you sure? Because they've never adopted an actual kid before. Look, I don't know the logistics. I just don't want you getting hurt. I know it's only been a short time, but I've grown to care about you, Abby.
I was about to confront Mom and Dad when I got home, but when I arrived, I was hit with awful news. Kofi was in the hospital due to food poisoning, and he was really sick. This is all your fault. I told you a million times not to feed my brother fancy food like caviar because he's not used to it. Now he's sick, and it's all because you two were too stuck up to give him something like rice and beans.
Abby, it's not fair to blame us for something like this. The food poisoning could have been from anything.
Plus, he'll be fine. Why are you making such a big deal about food poisoning?
It's not about the freaking food poisoning. It's about you two being selfish, irresponsible jerks that don't care about us.
Mom and Dad apologized and reassured me, but I didn't listen. I knew now that Carter was right. My brother and I weren't safe with these people. So as soon as Kofi was better, I crafted a plan to run away from home. Carter said Kofi and I could stay with his family in the meantime, while he would help find new parents who weren't horribly selfish. So one night at 1 a.m., I turned off the location services on my phone and helped Kofi sneak out the window.
I don't want to run away. These people are nice and they take good care of us.
They seem nice, Kofi, but they don't really care about us. We'll be living in another foster home in another year. Trust me.
Says who? Your new boyfriend Carter, who you've known for like 5 minutes and who also happens to be a thief? I know you're not actually this dumb.
It's not like he wants to be a thief. He has a family to support, and I still would trust a thief over any adoptive parents who could hurt us. Carter picked us up in his car a few minutes later, but Kofi wasn't speaking to me. I felt bad, but I was doing the right thing by protecting us, right? Besides, Carter's parents were happy to let us stay with them for the time being. Yeah, they lived in a one-bedroom trailer, and Kofi and I had to sleep on a floor mattress, but it was still so much better than staying with parents who didn't care about us. The next morning, Carter told me that he had disguises in case the cops came looking for us.
No, I want to go back home. You can't do this to us. You can't take us away from Mom and Dad just because you heard some rumor to live in a one-bedroom trailer with your boyfriend.
It's not like I have a choice. I'm doing this for you and your safety. Mom and Dad are frauds.
Why? Because they like bragging to the media about how they adopted us? Big deal. They still care about us, and they're still giving us a great life. You're just trying to find excuses to run away because of what happened 6 years ago.
Right then, Carter asked me what my brother was talking about, but I wanted to change the subject. I didn't tell Carter about how my parents had gone missing at work one day, and no one had ever been able to find them. And that's why we'd been at the freaking orphanage in the first place.
You'll do anything to avoid being hurt again. You'd even rather live with your criminal boyfriend and believe a ridiculous rumor than let another family take care of us.
I knew Kofi was right, and maybe staying with Carter wasn't the best option, especially because as days passed, I learned that he wasn't just poor, and he didn't just steal to support his family. I was drifting off to sleep one night when I heard laughing outside, and I opened the door to find him sitting with a bunch of guys and unwrapping towels filled with money. No, do not tell me you're in a gang.
Well, we all have families to feed, and now that you and Kofi are staying with us, I want to make sure I can support you guys. I don't want all of us to have to live in a one-bedroom trailer. Here, babe, I stole $50,000 just for you and your brother.
Carter, I can't accept this. You can't keep stealing. It's wrong, and I don't think we should be together either. I appreciate what you're doing for me, but I think it's best if Kofi and I leave.
No, please, don't leave me. You're the only thing that makes me happy. Nobody at school wants to be friends with me because I'm a poor loser, and no one in the neighborhood wants to associate with me because I'm a thief.
Before Carter could finish his sentence, I heard police cars, and that's when Mom and Dad came running over and crying. I guess they did care about us after all, and Kofi seemed overjoyed to see them. I started to warm up and apologize to my parents for running away. Then suddenly, a policeman handcuffed Carter and said he was taking him to juvie for 3 years.
It's thanks to you two that we've been able to do an investigation and track down how much money this guy's stolen.
And he dated my daughter and put both her and her brother at risk. My heart suddenly stopped as I saw Carter's parents beg and cry and apologize. I knew it was wrong what Carter had done, but did he really need to be away from his family for 3 years? I tried not to think about it as Mom and Dad drove us home and said we could do whatever we wanted. Watch movies, order in, go to Disneyland. They were good people, and I had been wrong all along. Instead, I'd put my brother in danger and got a boy taken away from his starving family. All because I was too traumatized to trust anyone to adopt me. I felt practically ill with guilt. The next day, I finally went to school for the first time without ditching class, and everyone was interested in being my friend since I'd been all over the news and I'd dated a known delinquent.
So what's it like dating a real thief? Have you dated thieves before in Ghana? Is it true?
All of them have rock hard abs. I don't know. Why would I know that? By the time I got home, I felt like I was literally gonna die of guilt. And then things got even crazier. Mom and Dad called Kofi and I into their study because our old warden had called.
She wanted to check in and see how things were going. We told her we loved fostering you two, and the truth is, we want to adopt you.
What do you mean? I thought you already adopted us. Oh, no. Usually, we foster children for a few years and then we find them a home. Your warden sent you off with us because you'd have better living conditions. But we love you two so much that we want to keep you. So Carter had been right about the whole fostering thing, but he'd been wrong about them trying to hurt us. He'd just been looking out for Kofi and me. He was a good guy. I couldn't let him sit in juvie for 3 years. You guys can adopt us, but on one condition. You have to help out Carter's family. They don't have any money or food. That's the only reason why Carter formed a gang and became a crook in the first place. Yeah, he committed some bad crimes and I won't date him anymore, but he's a good person and shouldn't have to stay in juvie for 3 years. To my surprise, my parents actually agreed, and the four of us went together to talk to the police about Carter's situation. My new mom even insisted on buying his family a new house. Thanks, Mom. That means a lot. Did you just call me Mom? Well, you did agree to adopt me, and I've kind of been a jerk to you. We hugged at that moment, and it made me feel warm inside, but there was one more person I needed to talk to. I'm really sorry I got you into this mess. You might still have to go to a disciplinary school, but you won't have to stay here for 3 years.
Don't apologize. That's what you get for forming a frickin' gang. Thanks for looking out for me, Abby. I know we need to break up, but I'm glad we're still friends.
Actually, my real name is Abina. Why don't you call me that from now on? And yeah, of course we're friends. I've never had anyone look out for me the way you did.
So, will I see you again soon, Abina?
You sure will.